Welcome back to another information video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the most endangered animals in the world. Globally, there are more than 48,600 species at risk of extinction, and this is just to what we know of. So I'm going to list you some of these animals, and if you like this, could be a part 2. The first animal is the pangolin. Pangolins are the only armoured mammals, and these scales are important because they serve as protection. I mean, there's actually videos of lions struggling to get through a pangolin's scales. But also, funnily enough, this is their only defence mechanism, because another one is actually releasing scent out of a gland near the tail, near the bum. There are 8 species of pangolin, and I'm going to have to read them off that list because I can't remember all 8. Black-bellied pangolin, white-bellied pangolins, giant ground pangolins, Temnic's ground pangolin, and the ones in Asia and the Indian pangolin, the Sunda pangolin, and the Chinese pangolin. There are 8 species of pangolins, 4 in Africa, 4 in Asia. Pangolins are mostly solitary, only coming together when they need to mate. They're actually most active during the night, but they will come out in the day if they see an opportunity to feed. Pangolins are also insectivores, so like carnivores, it means that they only eat insects. Not the same as carnivores, but did you know what I was trying to say? And this just means when they're hunting, they're only really hunting for termites and insects and stuff. And when they're hunting, they actually close their nose and ears. Don't know why I was struggling to say that. And this is to stop ants from getting in all the little places. And you might have thought that these guys actually look pretty similar to armadillos. I always used to think that, because I also do think that, except for them actually closer related to bears. However, when it comes to risks of extinction, this animal is heavily targeted, and I mean heavily. The fact that it's actually considered the most trafficked mammal in the world. And the scales are actually what makes them such a vital part in the illegal trade of them. Pangolins are lawfully protected under CITES, which is a law that stops international trade of animals that are prohibited to be being traded. In places all across Asia, like Thailand, China, and Vietnam mainly, but there are obviously others, I'm still prized for the scales and the meat. The scales are actually prized when it comes to medicines. However, they're actually made of keratin. The scales are made of keratin, and that is the exact same as our fingernails. It ain't proved that they have medical values, but people still use them because it's seen as like a traditional thing. In fact, from the years 2006 to 2015, there were actually 1,122,000 pangolins poached. So obviously you can see why these are so endangered. The next animal I'm going to be talking about is actually the Bornean orangutan. I always question myself whether I say that name right. I'm pretty sure I do say it right. Over 60 years, orangutans have lost over 50% of the population. Although I have actually written about the Borneo orangutan, the most at-risk species is actually the northwest Bornean orangutan. And it is estimated there is only 1,500 of them left. And over the last 20 years, which is only 2 years older than me, they've lost more than 55% of their habitats. And just for context, for the next bit I'm going to say, these orangutans live in lowland rainforests. And so people would think that buying wooden products and wooden utensils, it's very harmful to them. However, wood is a renewable source. You can plant more trees. However, when you hear that people are planting trees in the rainforest, you think, oh, that's great. No. If you've ever heard of palm oil trees, you'll know why. A lot of their habitats are being cut down to plant these trees. And you hear them planting trees in the rainforest, you think, oh, that's great. No. Palm oil trees are so incredibly harmful to orangutans. These are the trees that are killing orangutans in worrying numbers. In fact, to kind of put this into perspective for you, in Borneo, only 30% of the original rainforest actually still stands today. So you can imagine how many it's killed. This leaves orangutans with limited food sources and no shelter, because these are native trees. Orangutans are so important for ecological health of rainforests, because orangutans are actually recorded to eat over 500 plant species. And overgrowth of these plants, it is a problem, believe it or not. It means that the orangutans actually do keep the rainforest in balance. And the speed of them declining is actually genuinely worrying, because it's estimated that over 300 million trees have been cut down since 1994. So that statistic actually kind of explains why there's around 100,000 left. And again, you can think that, 100,000 are actually quite a big number. No, because rainforests are genuinely the most biodiverse kind of ecosystems on the planet. And so with only 100,000 left, that is genuinely worrying. So obviously something needs to be done. And there's something you actually can do. The only thing that allows this to continue is you. I don't just mean you directly, and this ain't me pinning the blame on consumers, because a lot of people think that's what I do, and I don't. Palm oil is in loads of things, from stuff like foods to shampoos and hair products. You can check for ingredients to see if it is palm oil free, or sometimes it should have like a little, sometimes it should have like a little label thing, and I'll put them on here for you. But you can also have sustainably farmed palm oil. Actually, we can genuinely actually save orangutans. From the comfort of your own home, you can do that. And it's genuinely so important because we're now growing up, possibly with the next generation, not knowing what orangutans are. With them being such a key part in these rainforests, in the biodiversity of the rainforest as well, it's so important to preserve them. The next animal is a good friend of mine. I say good friend, I've actually never seen one in real life. It's the Oceanic white-tip shark. There are more endangered species I could have put on, however, there's going to be multiple parts to this, so calm down. So Oceanic white-tips were actually one of the most abundant shark species in the world. Not now though. Now they am listed as critically endangered, like the other two animals that have been put on this list. Not a good thing to click at, don't know what to do with myself. They actually used to be found in large numbers in groups as well. Again, not anymore. They used to be found in warm waters all over the world, but now you're only really guaranteed, which you're never really guaranteed to see anything, but now you're only really guaranteed to see them in the Bahamas or the Red Sea. A big threat to these, like most marine life and most marine mammals, is overfishing and being caught in fishing gear like fish nets. In fact, the reason why I've put them on here when there are more endangered shark species is the fact that it's believed that they've lost 90% of the population over the years. And obviously this does make them a very endangered shark species. Sharks have survived multiple mass extinctions, and yet they may not survive humans. This is worrying because if you know anything about sharks, you know that when you see a shark, you know it's most likely a healthy ecosystem. However, with less and less sharks now coming along, it is threatening to marine environments. And without sharks, marine ecosystems will collapse, without a doubt. The next animal on this list is actually the northern white rhino, and I don't know if I should have added it because it's kind of classed as extinct. So yeah, as I said, northern white rhinos kind of are meant to be on this list because they're kind of classed as extinct. This is because as of 2018, there's only 2 individuals left and they're both female. So this species is now actually classed as functionally extinct, meaning it's alive but there's no chance of reproduction because, again, they're both females. These white rhinos are heavily guarded 24/7, as they should be. As there are people out there who still poach rhinos for their horns to trade them. One control measure when it comes to kind of fighting off these poachers, it can be seen as a bit unethical, a bit touchy. So this control measure is cutting off a rhino's horn. Yeah, a lot of people may not like that. This is actually a dangerous process. This can be a dangerous process for the animal handlers, but it also can be stressful and potentially dangerous to the rhino. So what happens is the rhino's shot with a dart gun. Great start, yeah, I know, but listen. The rhino's shot with a dart gun, and this is to not euthanize it, that's bad. So they shoot it and it has anesthesia, which puts it to sleep. Not temporarily puts it to sleep. And this is to keep it calm, so it is stressful for the rhino, but also so the handlers don't get killed. So all they do is they get sore and saw the horn off. So what I mean is a lot of people think it's unethical because there have been accounts of behavioural changes in them and they do seem a lot more scared, a little skittish. Again, it's kind of, you've got to weigh it out. A rhino with no horn is of no value. But then a lot of people's argument is the fact that rhinos have horns for a reason. Nature gave them horns for a reason, so why are we taking them away? You've got to do what you got to do. Rhino horns actually do grow back, so they say just a one-time thing. It's got to be keep doing it. I don't know why I did that sound effect. But actually, in fact, the foiling of the horns don't work. And although this is actually about the northern white rhino, this goes for all rhino species. And I will be doing more rhino species in part 2s, part 3s, part 4s. Because in 2024 alone, 516 rhinos were killed just in Africa. So whether or not this is the best solution, it's one that we've currently got. One solution that may be seen as unethical is better than no solution. The next animal is actually an animal that you may not have heard of. It's vaquicas, and they're actually the most endangered marine mammal in the world. And this is because there is less than 10 left. 10 is a worry. 10,000 is worrying, but 10. And they've actually become so endangered because, again, surprise, surprise, human activity. Humans exploited the Gulf of California for so much fish to the point where there was none left for the other animals. And this obviously included the vaquicas. Not only this, but gill nets caught a lot of marine mammals, again, including vaquicas. And this obviously consisted of animals like dolphins, whales, sharks, stingrays, all unwanted animals because they only want fish. and yet it's affected so many animals. Thanks to the WWF campaign years ago, the use of gill nets was actually banned in vaquita's habitats, which is great. However, this day stopped illegal gill net fishing. Even with the ban, the numbers are extremely low. As I said, there's probably less than 10 left. However, there have been sights of a baby calf, which is oh, how cute. But unfortunately, looking at the facts, even with this calf, there's a very small gene pool and there's risks of inbreeding, so it just means that there's very, very little hope for these animals. The next leopard, nope. I'll just give it away. And people often think leopards to live in hot climates, and they do, but not the Amur leopard. They're actually found in areas of China and Russia in forested habitats. And these animals are actually solitary. This basically means that they live by themselves, not like animals such as lions and wild dogs that don't live in packs. They live by themselves. But these leopards are so important to the ecosystems because obviously they're a carnivore, and it's always great to have a carnivore in an area densely packed with herbivores. Deer are so important to be kept under control and in safe numbers, because they ain't kept in safe numbers, they will overfeed on plants, and again, the plants are vital to the ecosystems. It all just has a massive collapse. Without these leopards, it would leave a fracture in the ecosystem, and this would just cause it to all fall down. And these are incredible animals. Seriously. Do you know they can jump up to heights of 10 feet and lengths of 19 feet? These animals are unfortunately listed as critically endangered on the IUCN Red List. It is estimated that there's less than 100 left in the wild. And a big threat to these is poaching. Obviously, humans in, as there is the demand for their fur on the markets. In fact, in 1999 there was actually undercover investigations, and they found leopard skin on the market from $500 to $1,000. Yeah, and this was close to a reserve in Russia. However, a bit of hope call for you. There actually conservation, I forgot the word then. There actually conservation efforts in place for these animals. Thanks to the brilliant WWF, poaching is being attempted to be eradicated on these animals. Training people to look for poachers and prevent them from killing these animals, it's a great start. I'm actually lawfully protected underneath CITES, which is a law that prevents illegal trade of these animals under Appendix 1, and this prohibits the commercial trade for leopards. However, in 2012, the Russian government did something extraordinary for these animals. They created an area of protection, an area of safety, and this is called the Land of Leopards National Park. Protection was finally offered to these cats, with lands that cover almost 650,000 acres of land. It kind of created a safe haven for them. In fact, this is actually such a great place for them that all known breeding sites actually belong to this park. It's actually home to 60% of the Amur leopard population, which is great. Another little bonus is the fact there is around 10 to what we think of, Amur tigers that also live here, which is great. And obviously them are endangered too, so it's win-win. This area is actually vital when it comes to kind of protecting this leopard population, and it's probably the best shot right now. Probably the best shot at saving the world's most endangered wildcat. That is all for today, but if you did enjoy it, please subscribe. We've hit 200. I forgot to say. I was meant to say at the start of the video. Thank you so much for 200. I hit 200 when I woke up, and I've also looked back at some of my videos. I'm very boring. Shouldn't say boring. Go and watch them still though. If you want more episodes of these, please comment saying, yeah. Just comment saying that you want more.